Welcome to the Sin Bin Podcast, your home for all the news, analysis, and discussion around your Bloomington Bison.
Let's drop the puck and get started.
Welcome back to episode 12 of the Sin Bin Podcast. I'm Dylan Skeen, joined here by Michael Eganhouse for what will probably be the last edition of the Sin Bin Podcast for weekly. We'll probably go to monthly after this, just because Bison are eliminated from the playoffs as the playoffs start tomorrow, and unfortunately Indy took our spot, those darn scoundrels. But good season overall, I would definitely say. Inaugural season, fighting for a playoff spot till the very last week. I would definitely say this is a season to be proud of if you're the Bison.
Yeah, you can't really ask for much more if you're the Bison. Honestly, coming into this year, I didn't really know what to expect. It was highest league we've ever had in this area.
After the first weekend, I thought we were going to be atrocious. And then, admittedly, I didn't know how good the Walleye was. Yeah. But just seeing the Walleye, demolish us the first two games, I'm like, oh, so we're going to be a bad team. And we were not. Yeah. We made it interesting a lot of the year, and it was a fun team to keep track of for the entire year. That's why this podcast is here. But at this point of the year, the jammies are on. We got the Grinch pants. It's time to take
Christmas in the summertime.
Not Christmas. I just like the Grinch. These are the best pants.
Okay,
right? These are the best pants. But yeah, that's about it for the regular season. We'll recap what happened this past week. The game we were talking about, where the Bison needed to win if they wanted to have their playoffs hopes even a smidge alive, and the Fuel beat them 5-1.
Yeah, that was a tough game.
Yeah, it was a tough game.
I think going into that, I was like, all right, boys, we've said it for 2 weeks, put up or shut up. This is it. If you want to even give yourself a chance.
Well, we shut up, that's for sure. We got shut up.
We certainly got shut up. And credit to the Fuel though.
Oh yeah.
They're a very good team, and they got hot at the right time.
Amen.
I certainly don't think the Bison played their best hockey down the stretch.
Nope.
I will have to check it, but I believe that we were way under 500 in the last 10 games, which really is not the time to go way below 500.
Yeah, it's really not. They in their last 10 games, actually that's brutal. They ended up being at the bottom of the standings in the Central. That's crazy. Admittedly, the bottom of the Central is all within 2 points of each other. But
I was going to say, it was real tight, but
they went 3-6-1 in their last 10.
Yeah.
Which is just a recipe for disaster if you're trying to make the playoffs. And admittedly, the Bison, while at the bottom of the standings, have 2 more wins than the Cyclones and are tied in wins with Kalamazoo. But you gotta love the loser points. Well, we love those.
How did I know that you were going to say something about loser points?
Loser points are terrible, all right? And I will forever be mad about that. I don't care how many games in overtime. The fact that we're below the Cyclones while we had 2 more wins than them is utterly ridiculous, and I will not get over that.
I will be the first to admit that a couple, 2-3 weeks ago, when it was really tight, but everyone separated themselves from the Cyclones a little bit.
Yeah,
I was the first person to say, I think the Cyclones are out of it. Now
you jinxed us.
I guess I jinxed us, and I
fully
admit that.
I'm not even going to put the blame on you. I'm still putting the blame on the fact that they got 11 overtime losses, and they somehow are above us because they have that many losses. There was actually a poll in the NHL recently about the NHLPA asking what rules from other leagues they would want to adapt. The number 2 wanted rule, voted by 30% of the league, was to move it to the 3-2-1 format instead of the basically 3 points for a
point
win,
system
2 points for an overtime win, and 1 point for an overtime loss.
Gotcha.
Which, personally, I think an overtime win should still count as much as a regular win, but I would much, much, much rather have that system than the nonsense we have right now, because giving you half of a win for an overtime loss is utterly ridiculous. But beyond the point, not the point. Point is that Bison lost that first game to the Fuel, ended up being bottom of the standings in the Central, though, again, that's nonsense because we're only there because of loser points. Anyway, the next game on Saturday against the Comets, lost 3-1. Another frustrating one, because you got the lead in the beginning with a Chongmin Lee one-timer snipe.
Shocker.
And yeah, I know. Chongmin Lee scoring for the Bison, that never happens. Oh wait, no. Yeah, Bison get the early lead, give up the tying goal just a few minutes later, and then couldn't find anything on offense for the rest of the game.
And that's surprising because I feel like we talked about that, especially towards the end of the year, that when we scored first, our record was pretty darn good when we scored first, and that's you never want to give up a lead, and that's. I wish I say surprising, and I wish I could mean that wholeheartedly. But again, with the way they played towards the end of the year, is it really that surprising? No.
Not really.
But if you looked at their record, month or two ago when they score first, you would probably have a pretty good chance of winning a bet if you said the Bison would win. Yeah. But that's a tough way to start your 3-game road trip to end the year. Yeah. But that third game was insane.
Fun. Well, the funny part is in that third game, the first period. If you watched just the first period, God bless your soul. The shots after the first period were 4 for the Bison and 22 for the Comets in one period.
That's been a massive problem all year.
I mean, yeah, you need to come out to start, but allowing 22 shots in a single period is utterly embarrassing. And it showed up on the scoreboard too, as it was 2-0 after the first period. But after that, the second period was a lot closer. No one scored. And then Bison took the advantage in shots in the third period. And sure enough, that was a wild period as Budgel gets 2 goals in that period, just about a minute apart. And then, with about a minute left, the Comets score to go up 3-2. And you're like, oh, we've seen this song and dance a couple times this year.
Yep.
You make the comeback, and then they get a deflating goal, and it's over. But no, with 12 seconds left in the game, who else but Chong-Min Lee scores from Budgel to give him a 2-goal, 1-assist night. So big night from Budgel, too.
Call it the Budgel and Lee show.
Yeah, no kidding. As Chong-Min Lee scores with 12 seconds left. Ott also with 2 assists here, so give him some love as well. But sending it to OT, in OT, nothing happens. Nothing happens in OT, and we are sent into the shootout attempt. All of them are saved except for one with a beautiful shootout goal from Chong-Min Lee. Alexander Texier vibes. I don't know if you've ever seen that Alexander Texier goal.
Yes, sir.
But it was identical. Just put it on and sweep it in.
Gorgeous.
Just sweep it in.
I feel like that's an underrated move, too.
Oh, it is.
Like, you do not see that move a lot.
I mean, it's perfect for going 5-hole on a goal. Keep your legs closed, buddy. Come on. Like, god dang. God, I mean, these goalies letting up goals 5-hole, I don't know, but I don't care. Bison with the big win to end the season, giving us some hope for next year. And I think, as we talked about last week, I think if you can just get a more solidified group next year, you're going to be a lot better. I was talking to one of the Bison execs recently, and they were saying that they had some crazy number, like 60 people, go through the team this year.
I think we mentioned that
it was
on the
something
last
like
one,
60 or 70. That is utterly ridiculous how many people went through this team. And I get that it's an inaugural season team, but next year, that's something you want to look for.
I think it's naturally going to be better, too.
I mean, yeah. Just in your second year.
Like you said, the first season, you're going to have so many moving pieces. Now they kind of know, like, all right, here's who we got. Here's what we need to do to get better. And then not only will they naturally kind of get better, but they're also going to make moves, obviously, with whatever Coach Barsky feels like he needs to do. Because they have some pretty important decisions to make on some people. But I'm hoping that they're going to be, like you said, keep that core. I feel like they kind of found their core.
They have
throughout the year.
The core pieces, I think, are there. Matsushima and Lee, for sure. Jake Murray, is your number one defenseman through and through. He was getting better offensively as the year went on, and he's always been a very steady presence defensively. I think Bryce Montgomery would be in that conversation as your top pairing solidified. The problem is he's just been called up and sent down a few too many times that I can't really solidify him there. But Jake Murray as your number one D-man, I think absolutely. He has been solid for you all year. He was one of the first people you signed when you became an organization. I think that's a very solid piece that you want to keep there. Other than that, there's a couple other pieces that I think if they stay, they could absolutely be core pieces for the future. I think if Brett Budgell stays. I think he's a core piece that could possibly just stay through the Bison, depending on if he gets called up more or not. It depends on who wants to stay as well, and it also depends on who you sign in the offseason. Because a lot of these guys that I'm talking about are core pieces with Eddie and Chong Min Lee. And
I think that should
Shane
be maybe an episode idea too, diving into contracts. Because we remember, the contracts can be weird because we might not have certain rights to... You get the gist.
Yeah, exactly. A big thing will also be the NHL draft. I mean, depending on who the Rangers select, we might get a few pieces from there. It's kind of not as popular in the NHL. There's a lot of people in the AHL that are prospects, but the NHL doesn't use the ECHL as much as I personally believe they should as a developmental league, because you can, I mean, let's be real here, the ECHL is not as high as a level as the AHL. And if you have a prospect that really needs to like learn at the lower game, like someone you think is ready to get out of the WHL and isn't ready for the AHL, personally, I think like from Blackhawks' perspective, I wish Kevin Korchinski could have gone to the ECHL in his first year, because admittedly that was a different deal with like signing rights and OHL nonsense, but if he could have learned in the ECHL, I think he would have been a lot better and been more comfortable with his game growing up. So personally, I think the NHL should use the ECHL more as a developmental league. But that's beyond the point. Just because I want it doesn't mean it's going to happen. So it's kind of just a wait and see what's going to happen with that. But overall, yeah, I think we have a solid core group of players that we can really look at. And again, there'll most likely be an episode later in the year during the offseason where we'll talk about contracts, who the Bison have been signing. One of those once a month episodes will most likely be on contracts, especially most likely closer to the regular season, maybe in like something like August, when there's a lot of signings that have already taken place.
Yep.
There'll probably be an episode just specifically diving into the contracts, the new guys, stuff like that. So we'll see who stays and who goes. I feel like the Clash. Should they stay or should they go? I don't know, but we'll have to wait and see. Moving on from just the Bison, however, we have our official playoff seedings, and we should definitely look at the playoffs, see who do we think is going to go far. So the overall bracket right now goes as such. In the Central, the Walleye will be against the Fuel, who were to end the year. Obviously, they beat us. After they beat us, they didn't win another game. After they beat us.
Oh,
so
to think that we had to beat them and needed them to lose out is insane. That's crazy.
That's the funniest thing, because if we would have beaten them, admittedly, if we would have beaten them in that game and then won the first of the Comets game as well, we would be in the playoffs right now instead of the Fuel. If we beat the Fuel and then beat the Comets.
It's a game of inches, people.
Exactly. It was that's close.
Insane.
And that's hilarious that we were 2 wins away from making the playoffs, and yet we're at the bottom of the standings right now in the Central. That is how close the Central is in the lower part of it. So let's be real here. This next year is going to be another huge one for the Bison, because you have not as, I'd say, as a tough of a division as something like the East and the like the South Division, which we'll talk about that in a second with the playoffs. But you definitely have a deep division. You don't have any like easy wins on the schedule per se. Like you go to the East and you talk about like the North Division, and I guess not really the North, but especially that South Division with how good they are at the top.
There's not really like top guns in our division, I feel like.
Other than the Walleye.
Other than the Walleye, I feel like the rest of the teams are like
pretty even.
Stay with the Heartlanders. You can stay with the Cyclones. Like it's all kind of bunched up. There's not really one team. I truly believe that if the Bison faced the Heartlanders in the first round, the Bison would win. I truly believe that, because I think the Bison are a better team than the Heartlanders. I think the Heartlanders match up better with other teams, but I think the Bison match up better with the Heartlanders. Problem is, that's a wonderful what-if scenario that we don't have. Right. So what they could have, I'm saying that doesn't mean anything, because that's not the position we're in. Right. So we'll have to wait and see. Looking at those playoff seedings, though, again, the Fuel kind of just barely limped into the playoffs. Meanwhile, the Walleye were 5-2-2-1 in their last games.
So they were pretty good. They won their final game of the season. And the Walleye, again, clinched the Central Division. And they're the second in the entire conference, only behind the Mavericks. So,
sheesh.
Yeah, they're a very good team. I personally think, I don't dislike the Mavericks, but you know what? We'll get to this when we get into the playoff seeding. We're talking about the Fuel versus the Walleye, which I don't think I have to tell you that I think the Walleye are winning that series. Like, I don't think it's even really going to be close. I think the Fuel are good, and they've matched up well with the Walleye in recent games, but honestly, even when the Bison were thinking of facing the Walleye, I think it was going to be a huge test, because I don't know who beats the Walleye in a 7-game series.
I'm going to go a little bit different direction here. I think the Walleye will win, but I do think with how Indy played down the stretch of the regular season, I think it'll be a little bit closer than maybe people think. But I do think the Walleye will pull out that win.
Gotcha. I'm saying Walleye in... well, actually, let me see how many games are in the first round here.
I hope I'm wrong, by the way.
Oh, yeah. It'd be wonderful, but... Yes, so it is a 7-game series starting off. I say Walleye in 5. That's my prediction. I don't think they're going to sweep, but I think Walleye in 5. I think the Fuel get one of those sneaky wins in there, and I think they keep it close in some of those games, but Walleye in 5. And then it'll be the Comets versus the Heartlanders, and again, it's not just my hatred for this division rival. I truly do not think this team is as good as their points projection let on. So I think Comets in 4. Honestly, I think it's a
really.
Sweep. I think it's a sweep. I even with the Heartlanders, their type of game being perfect for the playoffs, and the Comets kind of faltering near the end.
I was gonna say, you bring up the Heartlanders' point of style of play. I think it's a perfect style of play for the playoffs.
I think it is too.
As much as I hate to say that, because obviously we don't like the Heartlanders.
No, we do not.
I think their style of play will get them past that first round.
What's your prediction?
I think they're going to win it in 6.
In 6? Heartlanders in 6. All right. We got to take down these brackets so we can compare it once the end of the season is over and see who was more accurate between the two of us.
I think the only reason I think that is because the amount of physicality that they have on that team,
it's a lot.
It will wear teams down no matter how good you are.
Yep.
I mean, if you're just hitting people the entire game, knowing that, first of all, these guys are already beat to crap going into the postseason, the more you hit people, the longer it lingers, and I just think that it's a good recipe for success.
You've given me a lot to think about, so I do agree. I'm not changing my opinion, but I will say I'm saying it's Comets in 6 now. I'll give the Heartlanders a few games, because I do think they're going to get worn out. I think in the beginning, Comets are going to win, especially because they have home ice advantage. I think they win those first 2 games easy. But I think they might lose one of the games at the Heartlanders, and then by game 5, they might be tired. I think they might lose game 5 at home and then have to win it on the Heartlanders turf. But I think they could do that. So my guess is Comets in 6, and your guess is Heartlanders, which is the first time we're going to deviate. So again, I will write all these down in our doc and see who is more accurate.
And let me just remind everybody that Dylan's not going to like me for saying this, but I'm sorry, who did I tell you to pick in the Frozen Four?
Yeah, Boston U, who made it to the final. But hey, I was right when I said Western Michigan was going to the final.
That's fair.
I said they were going to lose in the final to Michigan State, which we don't want to talk about Michigan State right now, but still, Western Michigan did make it to the final, and they eventually won the entire thing.
All right. We'll have a battle of the brackets for ECHL. Battle of the brackets.
Battle of the brackets for the ECHL. You guys in the comment section below, that'll probably be our comment question of the day at the end of this podcast. Who do you think is winning? And you can compare your brackets to ours, see how accurate you are as well. I'm going to put those in right now. So Walleye in 5, and then I have Comets in 6. Who do you said the Walleye in what? 6?
Yeah, we'll go 6 games.
Walleye in 6, and then you said Heartlanders in 6 as well. All right, first time we deviate. moving on. That's the Central for you. And, I mean, we've all seen the Central play the Bison. I really think the Walleye are getting out of there, but we'll have to see. Moving on to the next round, it'll be the Mountain Conference, and it's the Kansas City Mavericks versus the Tulsa Oilers. And we faced the Oilers, so we know how good they are. But honestly, I think the Mavericks definitely take that out. I mean, the Oilers lost to us like 2 out of 3 times. And
yeah,
was it all 3? I can't remember now.
I can't honestly say that I've watched either team a ton, but watching the Oil, I don't even think I've watched the Mavericks like once this year.
I've watched them a couple times.
To be admittingly right there, but in favor, if I'm going from a Bison perspective, as a Bison fan, I think I'm going to go Oilers, just because I was legitimately kind of scared of their offense when we played them.
Yep.
Because they were goal scoring at a crazy rate.
They were.
And Eddie used to play there. So
yeah, that's true. Solid reasoning.
Maybe a lame take.
For me, however, I just think the Mavericks are too high-powered. I don't think despite them being higher in the standings than the Walleye, I do not think they're better than the Walleye. But I do think they're going to be able to beat the Oilers. However, I have that one going to 7. So I have Mavericks over the Oilers in 7, and then you are taking the Oilers. How many games you think?
We'll go 7.
You'll go 7 as well.
7.
All right.
I think they'll make it interesting.
There you go.
We'll make it interesting.
So I'll go, for me, I say Mavericks in 7, and you say Oilers in 7. All right. Moving on to the next second Mountain game. Tahoe Night Monsters versus the Wichita Thunder. This one's really easy for me personally. I'm saying the Night Monsters. And yeah, I guess it's real ironic for me to be saying all like the higher seeds, because right now I've only picked higher seeds. So yeah, you can give me some smack about that. Admittedly, this is the same person who got his March Madness bracket busted because all of the 1 seeds made the final. So maybe I'm a little bit hurt from that. But
this one I will 100% agree
besides
with you.
the point. Yeah, I think, I don't know. I just think the Tahoe Night Monsters. Oh, no, actually, I got that wrong. The Wichita Thunder are the higher seed right now. And the Thunder ended the year on a 4-game winning streak. Ooh, I thought the Night Monsters were above them, actually, so that's on me, but that's hilarious. In terms of wins, not in terms of points, in terms of wins, Wichita Thunder and the Tahoe Night Monsters are tied, and the Oilers are only 1 loss below them. 41, 41, and 40, respectively, for those ones. Meanwhile, the Mavericks have 49, so. But hey, I'm saying, I don't know, I just watched the Night Monsters. I didn't watch too much of the Thunder this year, but I did watch a good amount of the Night Monsters, and they just have it. I feel like they're also a first-year team, if I'm not mistaken. Let me look that up.
Tahoe, I believe, yes.
I'm pretty sure Tahoe. Yes, correct. This is their first year.
I will go with the first-year team.
Yeah, I'm going with the Night Monsters, especially as we represent a first-year team. We got to root for some first-year teams as well. So we'll go with Tahoe. And you'll also go with Tahoe. What do you think?
I'm going Tahoe in 5.
Tahoe in 5. I'm going Tahoe in 7. I think both of those games go to 7. In 7, and then you say Tahoe Night Monsters in 5. Monsters in 5. Moving on to the East. And do we have some fun ones here. We'll start with the North, because that's a little bit harder, I'll say. And it'll start off with the Reading Royals versus the Trois-Rivières Lions. Again, it's going to be really lame here, but I'm going with the Lions. I think the Royals, which also, by the way, the Reading Royals and the Trois-Rivières Lions are so funnily similar in like mascot and like logo, and because it's Lions versus the Royals, but the Royals logo looks more like a lion than the Lions
I was
logo,
gonna say, doesn't it exactly look
hilarious?
Yeah.
So it's the 2 lion teams basically versing each other. Now, the Lions, the actual Lions, definitely did better in the regular season. They had a They both had pretty similar numbers near the end of the year. The Royals had a 2-game win streak. The Lions had a 1-game win streak at the end of the year, so not really a win streak at all. But still, I don't know. The Royals had a worse point percentage than the Bison did.
Ooh.
No. Bite my tongue. They're at 77. The Bison were at 68.
I was going to be shocked.
I thought they were at 78. My bad. But no, the Royals are, other than the Fuel, like in terms of league standings, the Royals are the second worst team to make the playoffs, only behind the Fuel. And funny enough, the Heartlanders are actually the third worst team in terms of wins to make the...
I'm going to go with the upset here.
You're going with the Royals.
I'm going with an upset.
All right. So we'll put that... How many games you think? Because I'm having the Lions in 5.
We'll go 6.
There we go. Royals in 6, and I'll put Lions in 5. All right, and then the secondary one. This is going to be a little bit harder here. The Wheeling Nailers versus the Norfolk Admirals.
This is purely because I just don't like the Nailers.
You don't like the Nailers?
So, I'm picking against them.
You're picking against the Nailers? Now, they're very close in terms of wins. 43 compared to 40. Comparatively to like the Lions versus the Royals, which the gap is 12 wins, this gap is only 3.
This is just a salty pick. Because
this is just pure salt?
Yeah, because we should have beat them.
I get it. However, the Wheeling Nailers were 7-3 in their last 10, while the Admirals were only 5-3-2. I can't say for certain, but for me, it just seems like the Nailers are just a better team.
They're going down in 6.
I have the Nailers in 7. I think it's going to be a close one. I think it's going to be a really close one. But I have the Nailers in 7, and you have the Norfolk Admirals in what?
6.
6? All right. All right, Admirals in 6. Finally, to the most fun division to talk about, the South. And oh man, is this gonna be
if there's
a series.
Any playoff hockey in the ECHL that you should watch, pay attention to this.
If
this side of the bracket.
I mean, I would personally say watch the Central, just purely because they're in our division.
True, yeah.
But
outside of the Central,
watch the South.
Yeah.
Because those are the best of the best. If you look at the league standings, unironically, they have 3 of the top 6 teams in the entire league in one division. There are 4 divisions.
Yeah, so basically root against the Fuel and root for anybody in this division.
Yeah, no kidding. So basically, the Stingrays are by far the best. I mean, they were on a 15-game heater when I talked about them last, and I'll look at their schedule because they did lose their last game of the season. So that is big. However, it was not a let me pull it up. There we go. South Carolina Stingrays. Let's see what their final game was. No, not in the playoffs, the regular season. Yeah, their last game was actually a loss against the bottom team in their division, the Greenville Swamp Rabbits, which is pretty funny.
Oof.
But before that, they had won 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. They had won 17 games in a row before that loss. And the game before that, the one that they lost before that, before they went on their 17-game win streak, they had a series where they split it with the Florida Everblades.
That's some barn burners right there.
17 straight.
That is crazy.
Utterly ridiculous. Yes, they ended it on a bad loss against the worst team in their division. However,
I don't think they care about that too much.
They don't care about that. They're on a heater right now. And they're up against the Orlando Solar Bears. Now, personally, the Orlando Solar Bears, if I had to choose a favorite team outside of the Bison, it's probably the Orlando Solar Bears. I knew about them before I even was big into the ECHL because of the Bison. They're just like, I mean, Spit and Chicklets talked a lot about them as well. They're just kind of like a fun team. A lot of people go for them for ECHL games, and it's just a fun team. from what I have heard. However, looking at the standings, it's just the Solar Bears would be probably above. They'd be above the what is it? The Heartlanders in our division, but comparatively, they have 5 less wins than the Icemen, and the team they're going against, the Stingrays, they have 15 less wins than they do on the season. So I'm not saying it's over. However, I'm very handily going the Stingrays here.
I'm not going to disagree at all.
Pretty hard to beat them, as well as the fact that the Florida Everblades are in the opposite series. The Everblades are going against the Icemen. And again, the Icemen are a darn good team. However,
Florida's better.
Florida has won 3 straight. And the last
Cups, that is, people. That's Kelly Cups.
Yeah, that's Kelly Cups. That's not games. That's Kelly Cups. They have won 3 straight. So yeah, they're a pretty good team. They're the only team that had, other than this last loss against the Greenville Swamp Rabbits, they're the only team that beat the Stingrays on their insane run. So I have them beating the Icemen. I have that one being a lot closer. I'm going to have the Everblades in 6. I'm having the Stingrays in 4. No offense to the Solar Bears. The Stingrays are just on a different level right now.
I'm gonna pick my first sweep of the playoffs, and I'm saying Florida sweeps.
You say Florida sweeps? All right. I'll say Everblades in. I'll say 6. Yeah, I think that's pretty reasonable. And then you said, what do you think the Stingrays are doing? You never said their games.
I think Stingrays are gonna win in 6. We'll go 6.
Okay. So we're basically flip-flopping. I'm saying the Stingrays in 4 and the Everblades in 6. You're saying Stingrays in 6 and Everblades in 4.
Yes, sir.
Which leads us to the second round. We'll go through our whole predictions here. Might as well not. Finish off this last episode with a fun little playoff look at. So in that next round there, from what we said, it would be... you said it'd be the... Hold up, where is my thing there? There we go. You said it's going to be the Comets, the Heartlanders versus the Walleye. I say it's the Comets versus the Walleye. What do you have winning in that second round?
We're going Walleye.
Going Walleye?
Yeah.
Good choice. I also am going Walleye. I'm going to have that be a little bit further, though, but I'm going to have it be in 6. Walleye in 6 over the Comets. What do you have for comparatively to the Heartlanders?
I'm going Walleye in 7.
Walleye in 7. All right. In 7. All right, next series. Championship for the Mountain Conference. I have the Mavericks against the Night Monsters. You have the Oilers against the Night Monsters. Who do you have winning that series?
We'll go Oilers.
Go Oilers?
Shout out to Eddie.
All right.
Shout out to Eddie.
Oh, yeah. Big ups to Eddie. Not on the team anymore, but still, past team. Oilers in how many games?
We'll go 6 in this one.
We'll go 6. All right. So Walleye in 7, Oilers in 6. I'm saying I'm going the upset here. I think the Night Monsters just have the mojo here, which, I mean, I guess that would technically be an upset for the Oilers to beat the Night Monsters, but I don't know. I just don't see the Mavericks. I mean, they're a good team. I just don't think they've got it. I don't think they have it. I don't know. I've watched their games this year, and they don't scream a team that's going to have a lot of playoff success for me. I don't know. I could be wrong, but I just don't see it. I say Night Monsters in 7. And then you have the Oilers in 6. Moving on to the championship for the North Conference. I said it's going to be the Lions versus the Nailers. You said it's going to be the Royals versus the Admirals. We have completely different choices there. Who do you have winning your series?
I'm going to go Royals.
I'm going to go Royals in?
Let's go 5 in that one.
All right. You have the Royals making a run. Being one of the worst teams to make the playoffs, you have them making a run. Hey, I love to see the upset.
It's gonna be the opposite of March Madness.
I hope
We're gonna see a lot of lower teams. I hope.
Even though mine has a lot of the top seeds winning, I hope you're right. It'd be more fun for you to be right. For me, I'm gonna play it not safe. I have the Lions in 5 and the Nailers in 7. I think the more games as the Nailers have more to do. I think the Nailers upset the Lions there, and I think they do it in 6 games.
I hope you are so wrong.
I know you don't like the Nailers, but I'm predicting it. And here's the really fun one: the series that's probably, in my opinion, might be better than the Kelly Cup Finals. We'll see, but the Stingrays versus the Everblades.
It's a bold statement, but that you got strong evidence to back that up.
These two teams are insane. All right, they're the two best teams in the league, standing wise. They're both in the same division. They're gonna face off for the division championship. I'd be shocked if they don't end up being the final two. So who do you have winning that series between the two? The Everblades have the pedigree of winning the cup, but
I'm going Stingrays.
I am going Stingrays too.
I'm going Stingrays.
The Everblades have it, but I'm sorry, 17 games in a row.
I'm going Stingrays in 7.
I'm going Stingrays in 5.
Whoa! What?
Yeah, I think they shock the world right now. I mean, it'd be incredible for them to do that. I think they do it in 5. I think they win the 2 at home to start off, and then the Everblades try and make a comeback. They win their first game at home, but I think the Stingrays upset them at home in the second game, go up 3-1, and at that point, 3-1 at your home barn, it's over. I think the Stingrays get it.
All right.
But I'm happy that we both have the same team, though, because the Stingrays are just on a different level this year. Stingrays in 7. All right, the semifinals. I have the Walleye against the Night Monsters, and you have the Walleye against... I have the Walleye against the Night Monsters. You have the Walleye against the Oilers. Who do you have winning that series? Walleye. Yeah. In?
We'll go 5.
Walleye in 5.
It's the downfall of the Oilers.
Yep. And for me, I have the same thing. I think the Night Monsters are really going to kick him in the teeth, but I don't think they win. I think it's the Walleye in 7. All right. And then finally, Stingrays versus the Nailers for me. And Stingrays versus the Royals in yours. Who do you have?
Let me think really hard about this one.
The best
Stingrays.
team. Yeah, shocking. Best team versus the second worst team in the playoffs. It'd be an insane upset. I'd love to see it. However, yeah, Stingrays take it. How many games?
4.
4? Yeah. Doesn't really surprise me. For me, Stingrays versus Nailers. Yeah, Stingrays get it. I think Stingrays in 4 as well. Even against the Nailers, I think the Stingrays are just too good. Now, yeah, it's hilarious that both of us had wildly different ways of getting here, but both of us have the same Kelly Cup final matchup with the Walleye versus the Stingrays, and this is where I'm going to get a little spicy. Who do you have winning it, Mike? Who do you have winning the Kelly Cup finals?
I'm going to just preface this with Toledo. You have a very good team in the Walleye, and I love your fans. But the Stingrays are, yeah. There's nothing else to be said, but the Stingrays are taking it.
The Stingrays are ridiculous. They also, the best thing about the Stingrays also is they lead the league in penalty minutes. So they're built for a playoff series as well. You talked about how the Heartlanders fit into that mold. Stingrays absolutely fit into that mold as well. So you have Stingrays. How many games?
I'm going 7.
You think in 7?
I'm going
All right.
7.
I'm gonna go a little bit of a shocker here. As good as the Stingrays are, as perfect as their team is for the playoffs, in the finals, I have the Stingrays winning in 4 over the Nailers and the Walleye in 7. The Walleye have really had to do everything to get here. In my playoffs, they're 5, 6, and then 7. I got the Walleye winning it.
Ooh.
I'm gonna go spicy. You know, you took the upsets in the early rounds. I'm taking the upsets in the later rounds. I think the Walleye. I don't know who beats them in a 7-game series. That's my question. Who beats them in a 7-game series? The Stingrays could. They absolutely could. The Everblades could. But those are the only 2 teams that I realistically think could beat them in a 7-game series. I think the Walleye are just that good in continuous, especially at home. Like they're just such a good team. I don't know. I know that when you look at the league as a whole, yeah, the Walleye are only 4th best. But I don't know, man. They have some really, really good good players. They play the game right. I don't know. I think they've had some brutal losses in recent years, and I think just the way that they finished out the year too, it wasn't perfect, but they got wins where it really needed to count, especially against someone like the Bison away. So I'm saying Walleye in 7. I think Walleye in 7.
Wow.
Yeah, I have the Walleye winning it.
I will admit,
it's my Central Division bias. I'll admit, but still.
I was just about to say, in any other sport division or like sporting league, I usually root for the division that my favorite team is in. I can't agree with you on this one.
I don't know. I don't know if I want the Walleye to win. I think I'd probably have the Stingrays win it. I know for sure that I'd rather have the Walleye win it than the Everblades because we don't need a 4-peat. Thank you very much. But I don't know. I think they got it. I mean, their number 1 defenseman in Schmerich is amazing. I mean, I don't know. They just have depth through the lineup. They have an amazing goaltender. I don't know.
Just a bit of a key position
and
right there.
And I think, again, going into the playoffs, that's a huge stat to have. I mean, I'll look at the top goalies right now, not in terms of wins, in terms of save percentage. And against teams that are for people who have played over 30 games, yes, the Trois-Rivières Lions are way up there. So are the Stingrays. Man, so is Fort Wayne. I did not realize how good Fort Wayne's goalie was, honestly. But where is the Walleye goaltender? Is he really not that high on here? Because I'm shocked. Yeah, that's what it is. Jan Bednar. He only has a 914, but he's also... I personally am a big fan of Jan Bednar. That's who I was thinking of, who's just really good. Like, he's a prospect for, I think, the Red Wings. I can check that right now, but he's pretty darn good. Yeah, he is a... for the Red Wings. I don't know. I just look at those teams. I think the Walleye got it. Even if they don't catch fire at the right time, or... I don't know. Like, obviously, the Stingrays are the easy choice, because they're built for the playoffs. They had a 17-game win streak. There's a reason I have them going to the finals. Like, it's pretty obvious, but I don't know. I think the Walleye have just had it this year.
I will say, a 17-game win streak heading into the playoffs, while it's very impressive, maybe that's a sign for a burnout.
It could be.
Which would be my only... scary Terry.
That's huge that they have a 17-game win streak. Remember, they ended the year on a loss to the Swamp Rabbits. So they might have already hit that point of exhaustion. Like, remember, this isn't Shoresy. They're not never going to lose again. They already did before the playoffs.
That's true.
So, we don't know what's going to happen. I have the Walleye taking it, and you have the Stingrays taking it. Both of us have it in 7. We'll see how accurate our brackets are. Most likely our next episode, let me think, at what time do you think the playoffs will be over? I mean, you think probably...
Depends on
2 weeks a series, my guess is. So, with 4 rounds, we'll probably not our next episode. Our next episode will probably be smack dab in the middle of the playoffs. But our episode after that will probably be around the end of the playoffs.
Yeah, for sure. I think we'll probably get like a mid playoff update, and then
final update,
like a wrap up of the playoffs, and then start the off season type of stuff.
Exactly.
But it should be interesting. I think there's a lot of good matchups in there, especially like you said in that Stingray area of the playoff bracket.
Oh man, that's gonna be really fun. I want to see some honestly,
the Central.
I
feel like
craziness.
The Central Division though could match up to be very interesting because it finished out very interesting with the top for that Florida spot. And I think the Central Division out of other divisions is the closest bunch of teams that are matched up in skill level. And so I think there could be some surprises coming out of our division, I think.
Absolutely. I personally just look at a team like the Heartlanders and they just had such that rough stretch in the year that I don't know if I can confidently say that they're going to do much, but we'll have to see. Maybe they got a few people back from call-up, something like that. I'm not sure, but we'll have to see. But that's going to do it for this episode of the Sin Bin Podcast. Thank you so much for listening. We'll see you guys in about a month, but that's going to do it for the Bison regular season. Thank you guys so much for joining us for this journey.
Yeah, huge thank you to you guys. Huge thank you to the Bison.
We're almost at, 70 subscribers now? I mean, that's
you guys
crazy.
Have
68,
really been helpful supporting us, and we appreciate that. Don't hit
that subscribe button. Wow, he's telling you not to hit the subscribe button, guys.
I can't talk. Hit the subscribe button. Help us out. Support the Bison and get ready for a wild playoff run.
Oh yeah, I'm excited to watch it. NHL and ECHL and AHL playoffs all gearing up for this next couple weeks. So if you're a hockey fan, lots of good stuff heating up. Oh, also even the SBHL playoffs have started. So that's big from Eddie. Your nearby team, the Peoria Rivermen, won their first series. Which, by the way, we have players from. Dada Janov was from the Rivermen. So we have players from that team, and they were the, I think, only team to win their series 2-0.
I wouldn't be shocked. They kind of rule that league.
They are really good. And they might make another run this year, and I would love to be there to see it. So if you're missing Bison hockey, there is some more playoff hockey nearby if you want to go see it. Not that I'm trying to promote the Rivermen necessarily, but it's good hockey. It's nearby. It's another playoff series. I'm saying SPHL, ECHL, NHL, AHL, all the American leagues are heading into their playoffs. You got your hockey fix
for sure.
Your hockey playoff fix is right now. Make sure to get it. But other than that, that's going to do it. Stop watching us because we don't have any more content. Start watching some playoff hockey. That's what you got to do. Thank you guys for joining us, and we'll see you in the next episode.